following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
After the match, Nagata beat up Ultimo Dragon some more and then held his injured arm up so Sonny Ono could scissor kick it.
Just go Inferno vows to beat that woman.
They said that his influences was 70s style Southern brawling. I got you into this business. If you're such a big star now, give me back my diamond ring so you can be on your own.
Not my cup of tea match, but I do see how people would think it is one of the best matches of WCW.
Hogan then compliments the arena's mirrors because they show all his striations.
And he's like convulsing, it's mine! And they're going to have a party after the match. There's going to be a lot of Slim Jims there. But right now we got a man and a woman and they're trying to beat each other
After a
up.
trip around the ring, Flair just stomps the belt in the Perfect's face. Puffing and puffing just around this old in a polo shirt. They make it a point to drag this fan in the middle of the ring so Savage can hold his arms back while Hogan just wails on him. All right, well, I guess that brings us to our Wrestling Rewind.
The Retro Review.
And it starts off with a Piper Hogan video package. Hogan, of course, is shown brutalizing Piper. Then they just talk a bunch of shit. Hogan said he's the only god in the ring of wrestling. Then we go to Las Vegas, Nevada. Dusty's back with Shivani and Heenan on commentary. Shivani says to Heenan, 1 year ago at this event, in this building, Piper walked into WCW and started this feud with Hogan. Tonight, he aims to finish it. Heenan said Piper made himself the boss. He made a match with Hogan. He put a steel cage around them. Heenan hopes Piper knows what he's doing, because even a cornered weasel will fight. Shivani turns to Dusty. He said, we saw the cage lowered on Nitro. We're going to see the same thing happen again tonight, and then no one will be able to escape from Piper. Dusty said there's going to be a fight, and if Piper wants to win, he better start it. If Hogan comes out on top, the road for the NWO may go on forever, and the party may never end. Then we get Yuji Nagata versus the Ultimo Dragon. So Nagata is accompanied by Sonny Ono. I guess things didn't work out with Psychosis and La Parka. And Nagata also looks like created Japanese wrestler number 6.
Sure did.
Heenan was kind enough to call him Yogi. It started off with some karate. I wonder if 6 gave him some pointers before the match. Nagata was actually pretty fun to watch. He established himself as kind of a more traditional wrestler. He did a lot of side headlocks. He had a pump handle slam. Another night where Dragon mysteriously was super over with the crowd. This Las Vegas, Nevada crowd.
Yep.
Nagata blatantly helped Dragon do his headstand thing, then had the fucking nerve to act stunned when Dragon kicked him.
Always caught off guard with that spot, everybody.
Yeah, but this time
what's he doing?
he caught him, pushed him up, and then he was like, oh, what are you doing? Well, what the fuck do you think he's doing? Dragon does some karate, but Nagata cut him off with a chin lock. And then he laid him out with some hellacious sounding kicks before trying to win with a camel clutch. Pretty much all Nagata from there. He just beat the piss out of Dragon. He had a pile driver and a suplex. Then he did a weird foot choke thing. It's more the stance than the choke. It's like a little ninja stance. Dragon hulked up after some more kicks. Then he hit a dragon screw leg whip. Nagata fled outside the ring. Dragon tried to springboard something, but Nagata was waiting with a kick. Then they cut to a shot of the crowd, and the flock is there. They're just walking through the crowd. I'm just going to say this now. They cut to the flock sitting in the crowd just before and throughout each match. They didn't do anything. They held signs, and they kind of mugged for the camera. It's kind of a waste of the flock.
Richards was really the only one holding signs, unless the guy behind Richards was part of the flock. He could have just been also dressed like that. I couldn't do it.
The only one I really paid attention to was Richards, because he was the only one that was animated, I guess. I know Sick Boy was there, Raven.
And Billy Kidman.
Oh, yeah, Kidman. Thank you. So back to the match. Dragon hit his Acai moonsault on Nagata. They got back into the ring. Nagata went for a superplex. Dragon fought out of it and hits a power bomb for 2. Then he hits a moonsault. Then he tries to set Nagata up for his Frankensteiner. Nagata ends up fucking Dragon's arm up on the ring post. Then they tell us Dragon has bone chips in his elbow. So then Nagata works on Dragon's arm for a bit. Then he attempts to finish him with a Nagata leg lock. So let that sink in for a bit. So Dragon gets his Dragon Sleeper after countering a powerbomb. Dragon does some more karate. They punch each other on their knees. And then Dragon hits his Frankensteiner. Instead of going for a pin, Dragon goes for a Dragon Sleeper, making sure to use his injured arm for the important part of the hold. Nagata, of course, gets out of the Dragon Sleeper because Dragon was using his injured fucking arm. And he does an arm DDT and wins with an armbar submission hold. After the match, Nagata beat up Ultimo Dragon some more and then held his injured arm up so Sonny Ono could scissor kick it. Ono gives Nagata an envelope after, and we're led to believe that it's money.
How much money is the question?
I don't know. The scissor kick made the match for me, though. Yeah, it was a surprisingly good match. I wasn't expecting too much from the Nagata guy. Obviously, Ultimo Dragon's good. But yeah, Nagata surprised me. He just needs a little bit more pizzazz.
Yeah, I don't know if I was surprised or... Yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen or heard of this person. So
right. I thought he made a good first impression, for me at least.
Yeah, he did do good.
At least he didn't dress like a child.
Yeah.
So Disco Inferno was in the internet position. Mark Madden was also there. They're done having virgins do it. And he tells Disco that he's making history by wrestling a woman. Disco says he can't kick or punch her, but he will win. Cheerleaders don't belong on the field. A woman's place is in the home. Jacqueline interrupts, pissed that Disco's getting interviewed instead of her. Then she jumps over the table and chases off Disco Inferno. She also shoved Madden out of the way. They made a big deal about that. Oh, look at Madden. He went a-flying.
Yep. Disco Inferno vows to beat that woman.
Without kicking or punching her.
Yes. I thought he was going to do it too. We'll see.
Yeah. So Ghetto versus Chris Jericho. Ghetto comes out in this fucking yellow pajamas with the midriff cut out and dyed yellow hair. Complete opposite presentation of what Nagata was.
It's like a tourist.
Yeah. It was kind of like they found just some random Japanese guys and said, hey, want to wrestle tonight?
Yeah, we need someone in a match. You want to try it out?
So these guys were apparently rivals. So we started off with aggressive collar and elbow tie-ups, shoving each other to the corner. It really looked like Jericho. He looked like a child too.
He didn't look like a wrestler at all, yeah.
Ghetto hit 2 power slams. They said that his influences was 70s style Southern brawling. But yeah, up to this point, that was the highlight of his offense was the 2 power slams. Jericho did a double power bomb for 2. Heenan called Jericho out for not immediately pinning him. Jericho showboated a little bit. And then Jericho gets Ghetto in the corner, sets him up for a superplex. Ghetto stands up on the top rope. Jericho stands up on the top rope. Jericho proceeds to powerbomb himself with Ghetto. Scott Steiner was proud because I think that's what he was trying to do. And it's a wonder that Chris Jericho didn't break his neck. I watched the replay.
Yeah,
not the replay, but I watched it like a couple times, and I'm like, how the fuck did he not kill himself? Because I thought he landed on his head.
Yeah, it looked like he landed right on his head. There's clearly miscommunication here because Jericho was going for the Frankensteiner, but then Nagata stood up for a suplex, and then it's like,
but
he was going for a Frankensteiner.
But he didn't suplex himself.
Well, Jericho's still went for the Frankensteiner.
Right.
The dude was standing up on the top rope for, I would assume that he thought it was supposed to be a suplex spot.
Right. So Ghetto, he would have just had a front flip. Instead, he just flopped forward.
Well, look at him. He's unathletic.
Fair enough. They fight on the floor for a little bit. Quickly get back in the ring. Jericho tries to hit a German suplex. Ghetto flipped onto his feet. Jericho jumps on Ghetto's shoulders. Ghetto drops Jericho straight onto his kneecap, fucking his night up. And Ghetto tries a top rope something. Jericho turns it into a lion tamer for the win. Complete opposite of the Ultimo Dragon Nagata match for me. This one's looked like a joke from the start, and yeah, it's kind of a joke. And I think that Frankensteiner spot kind of ruined the match.
Jericho was clearly, fucked up at that point. So
we get Mean Gene Okerlund. He interviews Deborah regarding her man's upcoming match against Mongo and McMichael. So apparently she has a mystery guy facing her ex-husband. So that's nice. Deborah said she's the star and no one, especially Mongo, is stealing the spotlight from her. Mean Gene asks about Deborah's man. Deborah just lists off who it isn't. Like, it's not Steven Seagal. Mongo interrupts, says, I got you into this business. If you're such a big star now, give me back my diamond ring, all them Rolexes, all them credit cards. You can be on your own. Deborah says she's not going to be doing any of those things. Mean Gene suggests divorce court or something, and then he kicks it back to Tony. And Mongo and Deborah made faces and then walked off camera in a huff. Very, very phony.
Who's going to be that mystery person?
Can you imagine? Is it Luger? Oh, no, he's wrestling later. Who's the big name that we can think of that would be? Because, I mean, Mongo's a horseman, so it'd have to be somebody
Major?
maybe from the NWO. No, not the NWO. I can't imagine Deborah sullying herself.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it did end up being a big name.
Did it?
But not really.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot happened that I have a lot of questions about what happened there.
All right. Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Eddie Guerrero. Cruiserweight Championship. It's mask versus title. No idea what the fuck Rey wore for his wrestling gear. I don't know what he was trying to be.
The Riddler, maybe? Because he had all the question marks on him?
Yeah, he was Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it started off by Eddie getting into Rey's face, saying he's going to tear the mask right off Rey's head. Then he tries an errant punch, Rey ducks, and then we start with the high flying. Eddie gets dumped out of the ring. Rey goes for a suicide dive, but ends up basically doing a forward roll over the top rope onto the apron. Eddie just sweeps his leg. And he throws Rey headfirst into steel steps, get back in the ring, beats up Rey for a while. Eddie gets Rey into abdominal stretch and starts tearing Rey's mask off. Rey does a springboard DDT out of nowhere, drop kicks Eddie out of the ring, goes for a high-risk move. Eddie is one step ahead and slides in, cutting Rey off. Eddie gets Rey into a camel clutch, and then he actually rips Mysterio's mask. And then he gets Rey into a gory special. Rey ends up fighting out of it, and Eddie once again outthinks Rey and quickly regains control. I guess the story of the match was Eddie was one step ahead of Rey's high-risk offense because they know each other so well. So Eddie beats the fuck out of Rey some more. He tries to pin Rey, then blatantly put his foot on the rope, like right in front of the referee. And he was pissed off that the ref wouldn't do anything. Rey tried to make a comeback, tried fighting out of the corner. Eddie again stops Rey and gets him into a tree of woe. Eddie goes for a baseball slide while Rey is in the tree of woe. Rey dodges, and Eddie ends up crotching himself on the ring post. And then Eddie splashes Rey from the top rope to the outside. They get back in the ring. Rey escapes a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker and nails his Frankensteiner spinny thing for 2. Rey turned a 619 into a head scissor from the ring to the floor. Rey did a split-legged moonsault, which Eddie blocked with his knees. He nailed a vicious powerbomb. Like it looked like he was trying to send him through the ring. Then Eddie tries a running corner move. He ends up getting fucked up in the ring post again. Then Rey does a spin kick, then tries to springboard Frankensteiner. Eddie catches Rey and counters with a backbreaker. Just caught that little fucker. Then Eddie goes for a frog splash. Rey moves. Eddie turns into a somersault. Rey is sitting on the top ropes now, about to be belly to back superplex. Then Eddie tries to do a razor's edge from the top rope. Rey turns it into a Frankensteiner 1-2-3. So it's like that Psychosis match from Bash at the Beach. Rey really loves that finish. And then Rey grabs the belt, says, "This is how much the belt means to me." He's sobbing in the camera, and then Eddie attacks him from behind. Tosses him out of the ring. Rey just walks off like a little bitch.
Yeah, he did kind of no-sold the attack at the end. But I like the match between them two. This was, one of those matches people talk about as greatness. I don't know if I could put it there. It's just not my cup of tea. Obviously, I don't like the flippy flop style wrestling, but I do like how Eddie kept countering Rey. He would counter with backbreakers, and just like the little things. I like how during Eddie's entrance he was just like walking out, just looking down at everybody. But yeah, not my cup of tea match, but I do see how people would think it is one of the best matches of WCW.
I don't mind it when one of them is a high flyer. and they do the flippy floppies, and one of them isn't. You get to see, I guess, the styles clash. You see the more traditional wrestler try to figure out how to ground the high flyer.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of works for me. I wouldn't necessarily call Eddie a flippy flopper. Ray for sure is.
Yeah, I'm more so calling Ray
Yeah.
the flippy. Like,
So,
your mask is on the line. You're over here springboarding.
well, that's all he knows.
Yeah.
So Eddie countering Ray's flippy flopping and just grounding his little ass. I don't know. That worked for me. And I like the fact that Eddie was just one step ahead of him, at least at first. Anytime Ray would do
For
something.
everything.
But yeah, good match. Wish we saw a frog splash. Mean Gene Okerlund comes out again. He apologizes to Tony for helping him lose money at the crap tables, and he offers to buy him a cold one after the show. Then Gene tells us that there's a clique currently in WCW looking to add one more member to their organization. Haven't they fucking done this?
I don't know, but this was a weak one.
They've all been weak, dude. Gene says he
Some
can't.
of them are good.
Okay. Gene says he can't discuss it. I believe one of the very first ones is there's a clique looking to add somebody.
No, it was someone was having lunch with the outsiders or something like that.
Well, Gene says he can't talk about it, but if we call the hotline, he'll tell us everything we want to know. Then Gene asks Tony what he's going to be for Halloween. Tony says he wants to be Mean Gene. Then we go to the NWO locker room area where Eric Bischoff is standing by. It's actually Hogan and Bischoff. Hogan flexes his biceps, blocking Bischoff from camera view. Bischoff claws Hogan's muscle, and Hogan likes it. Hogan then compliments the arena's mirrors because they show all his striations. Hogan says everyone who came to see him kick Piper's ass is going to be disappointed. Bischoff says WCW hasn't been able to provide a safe working environment for Hogan. He references Sting coming from out of the rafters, then mentions the cage being lowered on Nitro as two examples. Bischoff stresses that Hogan isn't afraid for himself, he's afraid for the fans. And there's no way in hell that Hogan's wrestling tonight. Unless WCW provides a contract that states Sting won't be in the building. Hogan says he's the god of professional wrestling, so they win either way, and the belt is intact. Hogan's going to kick Piper's ass either way, but WCW shortchanged the fans, and they're just as low as Piper and Sting. And Hogan says if he doesn't see J.J. Dillon with a contract soon, he's taking his boots off and leaving. And he suggested earlier that he's going to, I don't know, hunt Piper down at his hotel or some shit.
Yeah, he's going to beat him up anyway. And he knows where he lives, he said too.
Right. So Hogan's trying to weasel out. He needs assurance that Sting won't be around. So then we get Steve Mongo McMichael versus the mystery opponent, handpicked by Deborah McMichael. Mongo, up to this point, is the only one with a Halloween-type entrance. It was lightning and stuff. And he didn't use Horseman music either for some reason.
Yeah, that was weird to me too.
So Mongo's mystery opponent was Alex Wright. Came out, no suspense. They just said, oh, it's Alex Wright.
Commentary did not help this at all. I get it. You're trying to sell the whole Hogan not performing thing. But for the next couple matches, that was pretty much all they did.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
it was that and the shots of the flock just mugging for the camera. That didn't help either.
Yeah, it just shows, at least for me, how important commentary is. Because if they ain't even talking about the match, it's like, oh, by the way, Alex Wright is the mystery opponent.
I think he came out through Mongo Smoke. Like, I think that's how little fanfare he got. It was weird. So it started off with Wright being aggressive. Then they trade wrist locks. Wright did some complicated flip thing to lessen the pressure of Mongo's wrist lock. Mongo just answered with a scoop slam. Kind of remind me of the 90s movie where you'd see the guy with the nunchucks do the fucking dance thing, and then the guy that doesn't know karate just shoots him. So Wright went out of the ring to do a powwow with Deborah. She said something about Wright having to win. The Mongo tries to use his strength. Wright just out wrestles him. Don't know why. Wright won the running shoulder tackle shit. Don't know why Alex Wright is having a competitive match with a horseman, especially a former defensive lineman that's a Super Bowl champion.
What do you mean? Alex Wright was just a champion the last pay-per-view.
He was the television champion.
That's still champion. So that meant everything to Regal.
Well, that's Regal. Don't you dare put Alex Wright's name in the same sentence as Lord Steven Regal's. So Alex Wright tried to go for a tombstone, and I don't know if he fucked up or it was planned that he would fuck up, but yeah, he couldn't get Mongo in it. Mongo hits his tombstone. Deborah distracts the referee. Bill Goldberg comes out of nowhere, spears Mongo, jackhammers him, and I think in the process he bumped into the referee, and the referee at least heard Bill go, "Arr!" But
Well, it was more than that. The referee, by the way, was Charles Robinson.
yeah, little Nate.
Yeah, so Goldberg hits his spear. First of all, if you're doing this run in while the ref's distracted, why are you doing two moves? Especially one that takes so long, it being the jackhammer.
Right.
But it's Goldberg, so I guess he has to get his shit in.
Shit in, yeah.
So yeah, he hits the spear, and then he picks him up for the jackhammer, bumps into the ref.
Definitely bumped into him.
Also, before the jackhammer, the ref turns and looks to see if there's like while he has Mongo up in the jackhammer, the ref's like looking right at it, and then he turns back around and
Like,
talks
is he
to
still
Deborah some
fucking in
more.
there? Come on.
Yeah, I think he looked at him like 2 or 3 times before it was all over.
Yeah, it was very awkward.
Like, Goldberg, just come on, you just hit your spear and get out.
Well, and then the spear itself was awful. I don't know if it was Mongo or Bill, but I don't know how it could be Bill because all he has to do is run.
Well, Alex Wright was laying in the middle of the ring, so he had to like hurdle him.
Okay.
He had to hurdle him and then do the spear.
I don't know, just the way Mongo fell. It's just a big hump of shit.
Neck hit the ropes. And I think even at that, they were like right at the ref's ankles. So
There's
even
no
if you
way the
did-
ref fucking.
yeah.
So Goldberg then picks up Alex Wright and dumps him on Mongo. 1, 2, 3. Ref.
Oh yeah, the
argued-
ref looked at that too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. He looked at Goldberg literally carrying Alex Wright and then turned back and started arguing with Deborah again.
Yeah, he was trying to argue with her the entire time.
Yeah. But it was taking too long.
Yeah, she sucked. She couldn't ad lib anything.
Well, I don't think they thought it was going to take, 2 minutes.
Yeah, weird. So Deborah hands Goldberg Mongo's Super Bowl ring after the match. Goldberg then decks Alex Wright for no reason and then tosses him in the ring so he can spear and jackhammer him. Then Goldberg claims the Super Bowl ring is his next victim, and the commentary team was more concerned about the Hogan situation.
Yeah. Now, it was funny that Goldberg was yelling, "It's mine!" And he's like convulsing, "It's mine!" The Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Back to the NWO locker room. We have Savage and Miss Elizabeth. Savage says Hogan and Bischoff are finalizing the paperwork for the main event, but whether or not the cage match happens, that doesn't affect him. Savage says he's there because he wants to be. Page is a marked man. Snap into it! Oh, yeah! Then Savage turns around to reveal his jacket says snap into it. Then he says something about the NWO being on top or some shit. I couldn't really make it out. He says, tell Page after tonight, he can tell his grandkids he had a glimpse of greatness. Page is nothing compared to Savage or the madness. And then Miss Elizabeth says Page is on his best day shouldn't be anywhere near Savage. Best thing for Page to do right now is just leave. And it's a good thing she's pretty. Savage says the danger and risk is going to be sky high because he doesn't care about hurting himself as he's hurting Page. And he says he's the man and Page is a monster he's going to unmake. And he says, Slim Jim, Halloween Havoc, snap into it.
Oh yeah.
So I guess that was a wrestling promo and a commercial all in one.
Oh yeah, and they're gonna have a party after the match. There's gonna be a lot of Slim Jims there.
Because nothing says a party like Slim Jim.
Yeah.
Like it's the ladies' panties wet.
Apparently, Elizabeth seemed to love the Slim Jim talk. I'll slap you with it in the face. Oh yeah.
Disco Inferno versus Jacqueline. The WCW Championship Committee will not allow this to be a title match. So Disco gets to keep the television title regardless of the... See, that's what the television title fucking means. The match starts with Disco running away from Jacqueline, and he continues to run. Fans start to boo him. Jacqueline eventually gives chase. Jacqueline does a sunset flip for 2. Disco hits Jacqueline with a drop toe hold. Her tits apparently got the worst of that.
Or the best
And
of
just,
it.
I don't know. She was adjusting her shit.
I think it popped
Disco,
out. It didn't show it on, obviously, but the way the fans reacted, I think it popped out.
she seems to have that issue.
Well, you see what she was wearing. It wasn't.
Where she, she just have magic titties that just have a mind of their own. And
Yeah, she's wearing them tops that just allow them to pop out for some reason.
Disco ran away again. The fans called him a pussy. Jacqueline tries to snatch Disco and he hit her with an arm drag. He put some extra mustard onto it. Disco ran away again. Jacqueline started chasing after Disco again, but he tricks Disco into letting him think she's chasing him. She waits until he gets back in the ring, sneaks up behind him, and starts to maul him. Disco tries to leave the match. Jacqueline catches up with him, beats his ass some more. They get back to the ring. Jacqueline attempts shoulder blocks on Disco. Disco tries a hip toss. Jacqueline lands on her feet, starts to beat up Disco some more. And then she crotches Disco on the ring post and suplexes him on the floor. Disco tries to run away. She beats up Disco some more and hits a DDT. Jacqueline attempted a crossbody. Disco rolled through it and only got a 2 count. Disco was beside himself, and then Jacqueline ended up winning with a schoolboy.
Yes. My 2 highlights of this was, well, not highlights. Number 1, commentary was still on the Hogan not showing up for the main event thing. So
Well, I don't blame him with this match.
Well, I was going to say, they didn't acknowledge this match at all. I don't know what they were going to say anyway. But there was one moment where Dusty was like, but right now we got a man and a woman and they're trying to beat each other up. And then there's another thing, Stevie Richards with his signs. And at this point, he had a sign, Jacqueline versus Disco. So girl versus girl. And that was funny. But yeah, I don't even know why this match was on the card.
I don't either.
That would be something I guess we'd have to have watched the weekly show for. But
I think Disco did the women need to be making sandwiches trope, and then Jacqueline came out to shut him up, and they set up a match.
But he already said he couldn't do anything.
Well, he said he couldn't punch or kick her, but he was going to win. But then when the match happened, he ran away. So,
and there was a lot of, like, the majority of this match was him
just running.
She gets close and he'd like get the rope break or run outside the ring. That also took me out of the match. Not that I was like trying to get into it because of what it was, but
right.
I don't know. I thought that the whole running thing went a little too long.
It was a bit lengthy. They probably could have cut the match in half and cut out all the goddamn running.
Yeah.
That's another thing. The matches were a little bit long.
Especially that one. Yeah. Much longer than it should have been.
Yes. Well, next we get Mr. Perfect versus Ric Flair for the WCW US title. Mr. Perfect came out with Flair's title and robe. Oh, wait, no, he was the champion. But he came out with Ric Flair's robe. And Flair obviously comes out with no robe, and he books it straight to the ring. And he tries to make multiple attempts to get in the ring, but Perfect just keeps knocking him back down to the floor. Flair says fuck it and pulls Perfect out of the ring, proceeds to pummel him with chops and shitty punches. Then they get back in the ring. Flair continues to whoop on Perfect, eventually sending him out of the ring and flying into the guardrail. Perfect proceeds to retie the robe he hasn't taken off yet and walk away from the match. Obviously, Flair catches up with him, drags him back to the ring. Flair starts working on Perfect's leg. He does a leg into the ring post thing you never see anymore. Perfect actually held on to the ref for dear life when Flair was dragging him to the ring post, and ref fell on his ass. Didn't help at all. Flair blatantly grabs a chair, but he misses Perfect. Mr. Perfect tries to beg off Flair, but Flair continues to kick his ass. Flair takes his robe back, puts it on, and gets a huge pop. It's probably the biggest pop of the night. It's sad.
And then he starts doing his strut with it, too.
He did, yes. Finally, Perfect hits a clothesline. And he does his flipping facebuster thing, and he starts to work on Flair's leg. He does the ring post thing, too. And Flair tries to fight back, but Perfect keeps working on the leg, which is awesome because Perfect's leg is also fucked up. And he's been selling his hurt leg the entire time. In fact, Perfect's leg is hurt, and it's preventing him from hurting Flair's leg even more. It's really good. After an eye rake from Flair, they start trading punches, and they're limping like old men. Flair is an old man. Perfect hits a devastating clothesline, cutting Flair off. Perfect starts working on Flair's skull. Apparently, just now, his skull is still injured from getting slammed in the cage at Fall Brawl. So he just now mentioned it. Flair does a turnbuckle bump, and then it looked like he slipped and fell to the floor. Perfect starts working on Flair's leg and skull outside the ring. Then they get back in the ring. Flair tries to fight back with chops, but Perfect gets a sleeper hold. Flair fights out with a belly-to-back suplex. Perfect drags Flair's head to the ring post and runs to grab a chair, runs back, swinging the chair at Flair's head, and he just misses. Well, Flair gets a second win, goes after Perfect outside the ring and just starts to beat his ass, making sure to take time to strut, because that's important.
Of course.
Flair catapults Perfect into the ring post, and they get back to the ring. Perfect tries to fight back, but he gets poked in the eyes again. Perfect grabs the title, tries to leave the match yet again, and Flair chases after him yet again. Flair goes back to the ring with Perfect. Perfect takes the belt with him, so you know that's going to come into play. So once they're back in the ring, Perfect just starts wailing on Flair with fists. Then he positions the belt in the middle of the ring, starts to go for a perfect plex on Flair onto the title belt, but they didn't. Flair starts whooping on Perfect. For some reason, he stops to reposition the belt. Flair gets Perfect in a tree of woe and then wraps the belt around Perfect's head. After a trip around the ring, Flair just stomps the belt in the Perfect's face. Flair is disqualified, and then he decks the ref, and he starts kicking Perfect's face repeatedly while Perfect is clutching it. A bunch of referees come out to stop Flair. He wants to fight them all. Conan and Virgil come out to help. Shivani's pissed that the WCW refs are pulling Flair off instead of letting him continue the assault. Conan and Perfect and Virgil all leave with the U.S. title. Perfect's entire face may be shattered beyond repair.
Yep. Did it deliver? The first part of it, the commentary, was still talking about the Hogan thing. So again, takes you out of it when that happens, or at least for me. I don't know. I liked it. Commentary being taken out of it, and then, it not having an ending. That also didn't help. The middle. I liked the middle. I liked the meat. I didn't like the buns.
Yeah, I liked it until that title belt came into play.
Now, I did like the fact that he just like straight up stomped the belt on him.
Yeah, that's very Flair.
Yeah. And I don't think I've ever seen something like that. So much so, I didn't think he was going to get it, because it's like, to me, it was equal to like when he had Flair's head against the post and he was going to hit it with a chair.
Yeah.
It's like, well, clearly he's not going to pull this off.
Well, I thought Flair was going to baseball slide. I'm like, man, I've never seen Flair do something so athletic.
Yeah, I did too.
He just ran and did that little stomp.
Yeah, he went to the other turnbuckle for a stomp.
Yeah, you thought, man, he's gearing up for something. Shit. No, he did a stomp. But fuck that. The Macho Man is in the internet position. Mark Madden asked about the sudden death match with Paige. Savage says he's number one wrestler on the planet, and that seems to be misunderstood by Paige, but he's going to learn tonight. Madden asks if we're going to see a cat fight between Kimberly and Miss Elizabeth. Savage starts to say they better stay the fuck out of his match before getting cut off. He's like, that one too many. Having bitches in my match, that's one too many bitches. Whoa, dig it?
There was a part of me that was like, well, Kimberly better stay away. I thought she was going to get pile drived at some point. Even though she wasn't out there. Yeah. I was like, oh, she's getting pile drived.
Well, Mean Gene Okerlund talks to J.J. Dillon. It's the first time we've seen Dillon since he was brutalized by Hulk Hogan. Honestly, it may be the first time we've seen him on the show, our show. Mean Gene's miffed that Dillon's first day back is coming to Hogan making demands, along with that little piece of garbage, Eric Bischoff. Gene says that Sting has to physically sign a document agreeing that he won't be in the building, which means he'll have to come into the building in order for us to see Hogan versus Piper. It's quite the conundrum there. Dillon says he's not a quitter. Hogan and Bischoff are trying to screw the fans tonight with their silly demands. Dillon says Bischoff is trying to do all he can to get Hogan out of this match, but the match is going to take place as advertised. Well, Bischoff comes out saying Dillon has no power because Hogan beat him up. Bischoff says Hogan will not wrestle tonight. Dillon pulls out a document. Bischoff loses his mind. Mean Gene says he already read it. And I'm confused. Apparently, the document was a contract from Sting saying that he won't be in the building. And it was notarized by, I guess, Dillon.
Yes.
So if that's true, why the fuck is Mean Gene out there asking about it? Because he said he already saw the document.
I don't know. It's just one of them logic gaps.
Well, Bischoff claims that Dillon has no authority and the match won't happen. Everybody leaves.
I like that Dillon was like a very Colonel Sanders-esque.
Yeah, I like JJ Dillon. If there's a TV president, he's the guy I think of.
I didn't write it down, unfortunately. But his delivery on this contract has been, dang it, I forgot the word, but he said it comically, and then he's like, and it's been notarized. But yeah, how did Sting already sign it?
So many questions. Did he just like, okay, I'm outside the building?
Yeah. And what happens after this really doesn't make sense. Since for the last hour, we've heard about how important it was that Sting doesn't show up in the building.
Yeah, better not show up. Scott Hall versus Lex Luger. Larry Zbyszko is the special guest referee. Zbyszko, who has wrestled 5,000 matches, comes out in normal clothes. Didn't even try to look like a referee. Looked like he was going to go golfing next. Or bowling or something.
Oh, he had wrestling shoes on.
Something old men do. Starts off with Hall getting into Zbyszko's face. Zbyszko makes Hall take his toothpick out of his mouth. Hall, of course, flicks it in Zbyszko's face. Luger proceeds to deck Hall. They tie up. Hall backs Luger in the corner. Zbyszko ends up pulling Hall off. Hall continues to argue with Zbyszko. They tie up again. Luger backs Hall up this time. Zbyszko breaks it up after letting it go for a while. They do a side headlock spot where Hall grabs Luger's hair. Zbyszko and Hall get into it again. They do a wrist lock spot. Zbyszko broke that up too. Hall gets Luger in a submission thing. Luger powers out of it and gets Hall into an arm submission. Hall runs to the ropes. Zbyszko kind of sort of broke that up as well. Luger starts doing the 10 punches in the corner. Hall fights out of it and hits an atomic drop. Hall starts kicking Luger's ass and he chokes Luger. You better believe Zbyszko was there. Six over-dramatically threw back a punch towards Luger, and Zbyszko told Six to leave. He's not afraid of disqualifying Hall. Well, Six didn't leave at all. Hall continued to kick Luger's ass. Zbyszko tries to compete with Nick Patrick for the slowest counts. During Luger's ass kicking, Hall sends Luger outside the ring. Luger starts to crawl back to the apron. Hall's there to start pummeling Luger. Zbyszko was there to shut that shit down by grabbing Hall and pulling him back. So Hall, he's had enough of this biased officiating. He starts shoving Zbyszko. Then he tries to deck Zbyszko with the axe hammer thing, but he ends up getting back body dropped out of the ring. So Bischoff comes out because someone has to stop Zbyszko. Zbyszko, drunk with power, starts to assault Bischoff. Bischoff runs away. Luger starts to kick Hall's ass. Bischoff comes back only to run away again. Luger signals for the torture rack. Bischoff's back again. Zbyszko's distracted. Six kicks Luger in the back of the head. Hall hits a razor's edge, wins with the slowest count in wrestling history. After the match, Zbyszko whispers to Luger. Then he demands to see the end of the match on the Titantron. So they replay Six allegedly kicking Luger in the back of the head. Looks like Six completely missed. Zbyszko declares that after seeing the replay, this match will continue. Hall gets back in the ring, starts arguing with Zbyszko. Luger gets Hall in the torture rack for the win. So Six, having enough of this.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Takes out both Zbyszko and Luger. Six goes to properly kick Zbyszko's ass. But even the karate master isn't a match for the dreaded Zbyszko, who got Six in a guillotine choke, a move he learned from Gene LaBelle in the 70s. The same 70s where Gato learned how to Southern brawl.
First he got him in the triangle choke, and then transitioned into the guillotine. It's like all from his back, by the way.
Yes. Bischoff comes in to save Six. Zbyszko focuses his bloodlust on Bischoff. Hall attacks Zbyszko from behind. Six is still out. Bischoff and Hall are battered and exhausted, all at the hands of Larry fucking Zbyszko.
The living legend.
They're all fucking huffing and puffing just around this old fucker in a polo shirt. Hall holds Zbyszko's arms back so Bischoff can kick him in the head. And Bischoff pins Zbyszko with 1 foot. Hall does the 3 count. Master 6 never recovered.
Yeah, that Larry Zbyszko. I knew he was going to be trouble, though. I was like, wait a minute. Didn't
Damn.
he do the fast count against Hall last pay-per-view? Yes, he did.
He sure did, yeah. Oh, here's the best
Yeah.
part. I think he actually has a match with Scott Hall.
Oh, well, we see he's got some stuff, because he fought off 6 while being on his back.
He almost took out Bischoff, 6, and Hall.
Yeah, he's too much for them. I like how they did it, though. I don't think Luger ever got a pin, so they were slow counts, but it was all for Hall. So we don't know if that was him slow counting or if that was just his count.
Right.
And then at the end, I don't know if the bell actually rung again, so I don't know if they actually restarted the match. So I don't know in the rule books if Luger won.
Huh.
But yeah, and then Luger gets the rack. And before Hall even tapped out, Zbyszko called for the bell anyway. So yeah, a lot of questions there. But you said he's going to go against Hall, so he's going to get what's coming to him.
I don't
Maybe.
know. I can't remember. Zbyszko might actually win that one.
Oh, no.
Did you not see what he just did?
Yeah, he's the living legend. He's got his stuff.
He's a terrorizer. There's a World War III promo. It was very, very generic.
Indeed it was.
Then we get Randy Savage versus DDP in a Las Vegas sudden death match. And the only way to win is if the opponent cannot answer the 10 count.
They did fool me because they're like, you can't win by pinfall. You can't win by submission. You can't win by countout. And I was like, well, how do you win?
Well, DDP comes out with no Kimberly, making the prospects of the cat fight pretty slim. And DDP dives out of the ring for Savage, and they start fighting on the floor. Savage gets the advantage by attacking DDP's heavily taped ribs. They get back to the ring. Savage guillotines DDP on the ropes, then starts to beat him up. DDP recovers during the first 10 count and starts wailing on Savage. Then they hit each other with a double clothesline. DDP hits a swinging neckbreaker and tries to end it with a diamond cutter. Savage flees to the floor. DDP chases Savage and they fight on the floor again. Then they fight in the crowd. DDP slams Savage into the tombstones at the entrance ramp. They fight back to the ring. Savage assaults a cameraman. He takes his camera, tries to wallop Page with it. Page gets his feet up, kicking the camera into Savage's face. Miss Elizabeth comes out and takes out the referee with a plastic catering tray for some reason. Then proceeds to gouge DDP's eyes out. Then she grabs a cable and starts to strangle DDP. Kimberly comes out at this point, and we get our cat fight. Dusty played the part of Jerry Lawler. He was like, "It's a cat fight! It's a cat fight! It's a cat fight!" Kimberly ends up dragging Miss Elizabeth to the back. Referee still knocked out by the plastic catering tray. What a pussy. Savage and DDP still have a match to finish. They trade punches. DDP ends up hitting a pancake. He tries a diamond cutter, but Savage held onto the ropes. This was too much for Page, who just lays there while Savage does his elbow drop. DDP somehow beats the 10 count. Savage hits a scoop slam and another elbow drop. DDP somehow beats that 10 count again. Savage goes for another scoop slam. The ref gets taken out. DDP hits a diamond cutter. The ref, Nick Patrick, recovers and starts the 10 count. Both men beat the 10 count. Page goes for another diamond cutter. Savage turns Page around, kicks him right in the balls. Page falls out of the ring. Ref starts counting, and then Sting comes out. Sting clobbers DDP with a baseball bat and just leaves. Savage ends up winning the match. After Savage takes out Nick Patrick and the medical guys so he can beat up DDP some more, Doug Dillinger comes out to herd Savage to the back. Savage just ends up waiting for DDP when he's carried out in the stretcher so he can just attack him again. And then he just flees before Doug Dillinger can mace him.
So, remember I said earlier that they made all this big deal about the contracts for
Yes.
Sting not to be there. But I guess they didn't think about this little run-in being Sting. You build this whole story about Sting not being in the building. Why is your run-in person Sting then?
I don't have a problem that they did this, but then they didn't make a big deal about it. Like, you would think that Bischoff and Hogan would come out like, there's Sting, match is off, but they just had the match.
They did.
It didn't
And
affect the
they did
trajectory of
suggest
things.
that it was Hogan, though.
Yeah, they did.
But that was my thing. Is like, we're building this whole story about it not being Sting.
Yeah, you would think Hogan and Bischoff would make an issue of it.
Yeah.
Also, I don't understand why Miss Elizabeth just decided to take out the referee.
Oh, that's what I was saying earlier. She treated it as if it was a regular match, so it had disqualifications, but there was no disqualification, so she didn't have to take out the referee, and she
She
could have
didn't.
choked. She could have choked DDP right in front of the ref.
She could have.
And also, when Sting came out, the fake Sting, of course,
Mm-hmm.
Savage was distracting the referee. Why was he doing that when it was no DQ?
I think DDP is soundly losing this feud. Like, he won the first match, and it's been all Savage since then.
Yeah, their last match, Savage won. This match, Savage won. But I guess, to his credit, he's needed help both times.
He's a heel.
So DDP's going to get the upper hand by, I don't know, a cage match or something. I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, the commentary team killed some time. They kept saying how they're looking forward to the main event in 100 different ways. And then we get Hollywood Hogan versus Roddy Piper in a steel cage match. Michael Buffer does the announcing, of course. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Slim Jim is proud to present WCW Halloween Havoc and the main event of the evening. This match is sanctioned by World Championship Wrestling and the Nevada State Athletic Commission. This will be a steel cage grudge match. There are no rules. The survivor, if there is a survivor, will be declared the winner. Are you ready?" So Hogan comes out. Nothing eventful happened. Piper comes out, and Piper Plaid with NWO title. Buffer says Piper is affiliated with no wrestling organization and is the true lone wolf of professional wrestling. So why is Piper booking main event matches on a WCW pay-per-view?
I think he's still interim commish, if I had to guess.
So then he's fucking affiliated with WCW. How is he not affiliated with a wrestling? It makes no goddamn sense, Buffer. So it starts off with Hogan stalling, then running away from Piper, who has his belt wrapped around his fist. Hogan tries to climb out of the cage. Piper catches him and starts whipping Hogan with the belt. Then Roddy Piper bit Hulk Hogan right in the ass.
Yep, right in the butt cheek. An interesting way to get someone offensively.
For a legend.
Yeah.
I would expect this from Ghetto, but Piper? So Piper beats up Hogan on the floor, then in the ring. And he starts putting the boots to Hogan, screaming at Hogan to fight him. Hogan flees to the floor, tries to climb the cage again. Piper catches him, uppercuts him in the balls. Hogan manages to slam Piper's face in the cage and tries to leave the cage door. Tony says that if Hogan can escape the cage, the match is over. So then Piper proceeds to wrap his arms around Hogan and push him out of the cage door.
Perfect timing, too.
For some reason, the match continues. Both men fight outside the cage. Piper gets the door of the cage slammed into his face a couple times. Hogan crutches Piper on the guardrail, says he's leaving. As Hogan's leaving, Sting is waiting by the entrance ramp. Piper catches up with Hogan, beats him back inside the cage. Hogan and Piper fight in the cage for a while. So they start climbing over the cage, and if they both climb over the cage at this point, it's the same thing when they just went out the door at the same time. This doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
Yes, the match should have definitely been over.
So Piper ends up climbing into Hogan's side of the cage so they can fight there. Another Sting comes out to stand next to the first one. Piper and Hogan decide they're done climbing the cage and get back into the ring. Hogan starts whipping Piper with his weight belt. He stands over a fallen Piper and starts slapping him repeatedly. And then Hogan starts to climb, realizes he doesn't want to climb out the section he's at. He runs to the other side of the cage and starts climbing there. And then one Sting stops Hogan. Piper climbs after Hogan, and then another Sting starts coming towards the cage. Then a third Sting comes through the crowd. I guess that was four. I don't know. There's like 5, 6 Stings. But who cares? Because they didn't really do anything.
Especially the one who walked towards the ring, and then they never really showed him on camera.
Well, there's the Sting that held that fan for Hogan and Savage to deal with. But we'll get to that. So Hogan chokes Piper out with the top of the cage because they're fighting at the top of the cage again. And then they eventually get back to the ring again. Hogan chokes Piper with his shirt, starts to pound the back of Piper's head in the mat. Hogan hits 2 leg drops, has a ref come in to count for some reason because that counts now. And Piper kicks out of the leg drops because why not? Savage comes out of nowhere, climbs to the very top of the cage. Hogan holds Piper. Savage jumps. Piper moves. Savage nails Hogan. Piper locks in a sleeper hold for the win. After the match, Savage beats up Piper. Bischoff consoles Hogan. The Stings are still there, not doing anything. Piper gets handcuffed to the cage. Hogan whips him while wearing a Sting mask. Then a fan climbs the cage. And one of the Stings holds the fan, trying to, I guess the idea was to hold him in place so security can get to him. Well, Savage and Hogan were there.
And who was this thing?
I have no idea.
I think he was black too.
It may
I
have
thought
been,
it was
yeah.
Virgil at first, but
No, he had a
then they got
shaved head.
the-
He wasn't bald.
yeah, then they got the close up. It was like, that's not him.
Yeah. But Savage and Hogan proceed to beat this fan's ass. And they make it a point to drag this fan in the middle of the ring so Savage can hold his arms back while Hogan just wails on him. Now, this fan had Sting face paint to start off with, and by the end of it, you can just see like it's all peeled off and whatever. The best part was the security guys, they were dragging the fan off, but they weren't like being gentle at all with him. Like they were just trying to throw him just as hard as Savage and Hogan were.
Yeah, and on commentary, it was like, they're trying to save his life. I was laughing so hard during this whole thing. Number one, he climbs into the cage. You hear on commentary, Dusty is like, oh, he's about to find out. Where I went in my mind was like, the people who go to the zoo and they crawl into the lion cage. Hogan is like, he tries to throw him into the steel cage, but then he didn't get him, and then he tells the Piper, get him in the ring. Macho Man holds him in a full Nelson so Hogan can get some free shots. By the way, this is a fan we're talking about.
Yes.
And
the
then
commentary
Hogan's
was excited as shit.
Yeah.
Oh, the fan's getting beat up.
Yeah, commentaries, they're egging it on.
Despite the
Hogan's
fact that they
getting
hate
in.
NWO.
Yeah, Hogan's getting in free kicks. So much so that you saw that one security guy like have to hold Hogan back.
Pay-per-view ends with the beaten up fan being taken away, and Piper is handcuffed to the cage in the background. And they said, we gotta go.
Yeah, well, we're out of time. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, that was so funny. Like, what was he thinking? Crawling
I don't
over?
know. What was the end game, right?
Yeah. What's your plan here, buddy? Maybe he did want to save Piper. Maybe he thought that's what was going to happen.
Probably.
I don't think he'd think it was going to go that way.
He's climbing down and they're just waiting for him. At that point. Yeah, good shit. Not one of the better pay-per-views, though.
No, it was a train wreck. That fan crawling into the ring kind of summed up the whole pay-per-view. Like, how did it go? Well, look at that.
Ironically enough, that was probably the best part of the pay-per-view, though. That and Zbyszko killing everybody.
Them finding out.
But that is Halloween Havoc. Next one is World War III, 97, Auburn Hills, Michigan. We got Disco Inferno versus Perry Saturn for the WCW TV title. I don't think Saturn's wearing a dress, so this might actually be a straight match, no pun intended. Disco is wrestling. We have the Blue Bloods, Lord Steven Regal and Squire David Taylor versus the Steiner Brothers for the Tag Team Championship. We get Scotty Riggs versus Raven in a Ravens rules match. Wonder who's going to win that one. And we have Ric Flair versus Mr. Perfect 2 U.S. title. And, of course, the World War III match.
Maybe this one will be a little bit better.
I'm not going to expect anything. Usually when I don't expect anything, that's when they're good.
That's fair.
But before that, we have WrestleMania 24. And we're back to Roman numerals for a while. It's in Orlando, Florida. It's the second outdoor WrestleMania. WrestleMania 9 was the last one with the toga party. And Kim Kardashian hosted the event. So get your barf bags ready.
I don't know about that.
What if she talks? What if she welcomes us to WrestleMania?
That's what the mute button's for.
Yeah. The matches to look forward to are JBL and Fit Finlay. It's going to be a Belfast brawl because Finlay likes to fight, but he's Irish, so his matches need to be Ireland related. We have Umaga versus Batista in the battle for brand supremacy. It's for Raw or SmackDown. Fuck you, ECW. We have Kane versus Chavo Guerrero for the ECW Championship. Just bookmark that one. We have Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair. Career-threatening match.
Is that the one?
I believe so, yeah.
This was the time where Mr. McMahon was like, the next time you lose, you'll be done. So, yeah. And then it leads up to this.
I'm sorry. I love you.
Yeah. And he would stay retired for a while until he did another retirement match.
Yes.
Well, this was his WWE retirement, but he wasn't done.
Triple H versus John Cena versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. We have The Giant versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. in a no DQ match. And then Undertaker versus Edge, World Heavyweight Championship.
And I remember that one. Well, I know it's billed as undefeated streak versus streak because Edge was undefeated in singles action at the time.
Yeah.
At WrestleMania.
Well, hopefully it's not 4 fucking hours long.
Well, get ready. I think it might be.
All right. Well, great. Might have to start watching these tonight.
Watch one match at a time.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'll finish the next match tomorrow.
That's another thing. They're long as fuck. It's not just like it's a long pay-per-view. There's just long ass matches.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to go back. Usually it's for the main event. Not that the main event's boring. It's just by that time I'm out of energy. So I have to rewatch it.
But that's all I got for the retro.
Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you disagree with anything, also let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And until next time.